This is a look at fairy trees. We'll be looking at the places where they survive and thrive and what the unseen energies might be in those places. To do this, our first stop is in Clarecastle, County Clare. There's an artist's impression of what was there around 1800, and that's what it looks like today, with the castle on the left and Thomond Villas on the right. There it is from a slightly different angle, and in the field just to the south of there are two stones, one of which has its own fairy tree. There's another fairy tree in that same field further along, and over the edge of the levee and the river side of the embankment is another fairy tree. Let's look at this one first. It's growing here in a hollow which is full of water for most of the winter. And starting at the top of the picture, if we take a line from the stone which has its own fairy tree, over the top of this fairy tree, we get to the centre of a ring fort which is less than a kilometre to the south. So straight away we have to ask if there is some energy, some active energy on this line between the centre of that ring fort and the stone which has the tree, which helps our fairy tree in the middle to grow right there. Now, that's not the only alignment line which is impacting that tree. A short distance to the southeast is Carnelly House, and in front of the house there's a ring fort, and on the edge of the ring fort there's a plinth and a standing stone which has unfortunately fallen over. A line from this standing stone to a ring fort to the northwest, about 3 kilometres away to the northwest, goes directly over this fairy tree. This image there shows you the two alignment lines together. This other fairy tree I mentioned is on the river side of the embankment. It's the only tree on the river side of the embankment all the way down the Shannon estuary. And as this ground intermittently backs up, it's tidal, it backs up with salty water from time to time. It's probably an unfavourable sort of place for a whitethorn tree. But there are some unusual alignments. If we take a line from this tree over the top of the pointy standing stone at Skiana, we arrive at the centre of some very unusual tree planting directly to the east of Ennis, about 2 kilometres north. And the circle of trees is about 120 metres in diameter. Going back to this second fairy tree again, if we take a line from the castle at Clarecastle to the standing stone at Carnelly that we looked at a couple of minutes ago, then that line goes directly over this second tree. And this image there shows you the two alignments together. Now, so far these trees have been all whitethorn trees, but there are also ash trees which would qualify as fairy trees, in that they're out there on their own, they've survived and thrived, and people have been prompted to leave them alone. Let's look at a few examples. This is Clooney Cemetery, where the old church there is aligned with the sundial at Cragley House. The boundary wall there at the orange line aligns with Castletown Castle. The blue line points to Coolray Castle. The yellow line on the right points to a ring fort at Coogan. And the other boundary wall going away to the south goes to Fenlow. That's the one we're going to follow. Because just before arriving at Fenlow, that line goes over the top of two spectacular standalone trees. The trees are in the middle of grazing land, and there's a lot of deer around here, so a small sapling would get chewed up very fast. It's unlikely that these trees would, in the normal course of events, have survived without some unseen energy helping them along. Next example we'll look at is a line from the statue in the middle of the walled garden at Napogue Castle to the pillar, the O'Brien family vault beside St. Bridget's Well near Liscannor. This line forms the boundary of the walled garden at Ballykilty. It goes through a ring fort near there, a ring fort in Kilnamona. But in the middle between those locations, there are two locations there where it goes over the top of, again, spectacular standalone trees in the middle of grazing land. Next, we have a variation on this theme. This is Bushy Park, top of the hill there overlooking Ennis. And there are a number of stone forts up here and remnants of stone circles. There's one. The big one obviously was a complete circle at some stage, and right in the middle of it is a big healthy ash tree. This is a limestone landscape where the rock is quite near the surface, gets very dry in the summertime. Small bushes do okay, but big trees are kind of rare, except for this one. This one is similar, a whitethorn at Ballyganner near Kilfenora. Everything for miles around is scrub and small bushes, except for this one. And it happens to be growing at a spot which aligns with Ringforts to the southeast and the northwest. That's the red line there. And the yellow line shows an alignment to the standing stone in Lahinch, which we covered in a previous video. So again, there's something about the energy at this point which caused this whitethorn to be the odd one out. And even looking to the southeast there to the two Ringforts, in between them, in the middle of a field, is another example of a standalone tree. Probably whitethorn, but I haven't been there. But it's directly on that line. A couple of more examples. This is the Holy Well at Lochavala. If you go there to do the Lochavala looped walk, the well is signposted on that walk. The old cathedral in Kilfenora is aligned to this well, and there is also a line going to the well via this Ringfort. It's a stone circle out to the west, which has the foundations of some structure in it. And on this alignment, in the middle image there, it's not a rock, it's a whitethorn tree in full bloom in May, 30th of May 2023. And in the middle of all the other scrub, it's the biggest, healthiest blooming whitethorn tree. This is a big ash tree near Tulla, sitting directly between two alignment hotspots, energy points, whatever. And our final example, this is what's left of Tyreda Castle. This had some magnificent stonework. That arch in the middle now is 2.5 meters wide. And a line from here to the Ringfort on Inishlow goes through a little lake at Fomerla, which is like the Enchanted Lake in that it has a lot of sites surrounding it, which are symmetrically located. But today we're looking just south of Tyreda Castle, big field, a big tree in the middle of the field, directly on this line. The question is there some active energy still on these alignment lines? In this case, Tyreda Castle has been there maybe 400 years. The Ringfort on Inishlow, we're told, has been there more than 1,000 years. And the tree is unlikely to be more than 150 years old. Going back to Clare Castle, the history books tell us the castle has been there for 1,000 years in some shape or form. The standing stone at Carnelly, we're told, would have been there since pagan druids built it 1,000 years ago maybe. But the whitethorn fairy tree again is unlikely to be more than 100 odd years old, maybe less than that. The question is, in the last 100 or so years, is there still active energy on these alignment lines? Is there still energy transferring between these sites? If we look at how plants grow and the mechanisms whereby they take up nutrients from the soil, then we're looking at an electrochemical process. All the explanations show positively charged and negatively charged ions, and electrical energy can impact on this. Not just electric fields, because if you have a magnetic field, you have an electric field, and vice versa, they're interlinked. So there are a range of energies which could translate into an electrical anomaly, which might boost plant growth. Do let me know if you have any thoughts on this. Thank you.